That's a tough question to answer because, like, you know, there's different levels of hype. There's hype that, you know, people outside of, you know, the team talk about, and then there's the hype that, you know, we have to live with every day, and, you know, where we see ourselves. And ultimately, that's how we, you know, that's all that really matters for us, is how we see ourselves. And how we see ourselves is how we performed in the most recent game. And I thought we made a lot of mistakes, especially with penalties. I don't even know. Does anyone know the numbers of yards?
13.
Okay.
11 defensive.
Yeah, that was not ideal, especially when, you know, you keep extending drives. And I felt like SMU maybe wasn't able to take advantage of those as much as other teams down the road will, if I'm being frank. But that's a great thing about it, is that, you know, we get to address it early. It's not something that's going to, you know, hopefully linger on past today, and move forward.
What do you attribute those penalties to today?
I gotta watch the film. It seemed like it was. I don't even know what the penalties were about. I'm so focused on, like, the defensive line. I think I got a lot of flack at Notre Dame because I said I didn't feel like they dominated us. And if you look at, like, what I see as a defensive lineman, I don't think anyone would say, "Oh, he got dominated." And that's, so for me, it's like a lot of penalties were pass interference, and yeah.
Is it a fine line, though, for this defense that, you know, aggression is what makes you guys so good in many ways versus, obviously, going too far?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know the penalties enough to, like, address them as to why they happened. I just know that they can happen. We gotta be more careful with that.
How frustrating is that in the moment, though, when, you know, it looks like you maybe got off the field at third down and then you see the flag there?
It's definitely pretty frustrating. It was frustrating too when they announced it as a sack, me and Kalik, and he was offsides. I'm not calling him out for that one, but that one hurt a little bit. Yeah, so it's all good. Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't know how to answer that. It hurts, but you just gotta. It happens. It's part of the game, and we're gonna address it.
How ready do you think the defense still is for Big Ten play?
I think we're ready. I think defensively is, you know, it's not the issue. I thought it was just, like I said, penalties. That you know, football, guns don't kill, turnovers and penalties do, and we're going to address those. So it's just something we need to work on, and nobody's perfect. If you look around the country, I think, you know, every team in college football makes mistakes and got stuff we got to work on. And I think there are a lot bigger issues that we've faced in the past. Where I think this is something that's surmountable and something we can work on.
Chase, what's the key to not letting the quarterbacks on third downs and giving up big scramble plays?
Yeah, does anyone know the scramble yards? You guys are pretty good with this stuff. Yeah, I really don't know. I know they had the one big scramble. I felt it was frustrating because, you know, I felt like I had the sack up the middle, and we lost contain, and he scrambled. But
was that the 3rd and 16 that you're talking
about?
Yeah,
it was down on the goal line. Yeah. So, you know, that one hurt for me personally, just, you know, being so close. But the key is just, you know, knowing your rush lanes and making sure you don't vacate those, because, you know, when you do, good athletes take advantage of them like they were able to today.
Do you feel like
at some points?
With this defense, so many starters back, are you guys still searching for the dominant edge that you had at times last year? You guys feel like you're still searching for that a little bit?
Are you saying for, like, myself personally, like
the whole defense?
Dominant edge is in like we're better than them, or
yeah,
like
just
edge rush
dominating the game.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, no, we definitely are still searching for that. You know, I feel like you're kind of pigeonholing me into a response.
You're smart enough to excuse that.
Exactly. So I don't want to say like we're searching to be dominant again. Like I don't want it to come off as like that. I mean, we're just really honestly we're just working to be better. You know, better than we were yesterday, and better. You know, just keep improving ultimately. So yeah, maybe if someone says we weren't dominant enough, maybe you can make a case on that. But I'm sure we'll be better next week than we were today, and that's the great thing about football, is that you don't have to have it all together week 3. So,
Chase, you have a pretty good pulse on the whole team. Where would you say you guys are at from, you know, a daily preparation, whatever you got to do, you know, after 3 weeks as a team?
I'd say it's a little different this year in the sense that, like, they're not taking anything for granted, especially, you know, the coaching staff isn't. They're really pushing us in practice. You know, it's like probably maybe the hardest, you know, for me personally. It's been just attacking it, and I speak from a defensive perspective, and we'll see where that gets us. You know, hopefully that yields great results, and we get to cash in on that soon.
Does this feel like an older team now? I mean, last year was such a younger. Does this feel like a more mature group?
Yeah, I don't think anybody looks around and is like, there's not really that many fresh faces out there. You kind of know who you're playing with and what everyone's capable of, with the exception being kind of like the inside defensive line, especially with some injuries that happened. So some guys had to step up. Carlo Kemp, that dude is a machine. He is you know, proud of him, and he's really stepped into that role and been that guy for us recently.
Chase, did you talk to Kalik after the game?
I did talk to Kalik. I was just messing with him. I told him free Kalik. He told me to chill, and so that's kind of how that went down. But yeah, Kalik's a buddy of mine, and you know, it was kind of a baffling play. I don't want to get in trouble for questioning the ref's ultimate authority. But the quarterback was a runner, from what I saw. He hit him, but hey, it's out of my hands, and I'm sure they'll be appealing it.
Does the switch flip down with the Big Ten season, like mentally for you guys and stuff? Do you feel like you got stuff done?
Yeah, I've already heard murmurs around the locker room saying, you know, like the Big Ten starts right now. So I think like mentally we'll be even more focused this week and just with it, because we know like this has greater implications. You can't blow one of these. You know, Coach Harbaugh's a quote talking about, you know, plays if your lives and your season depend on it, because they do, especially now.
Was there anything that the defense, anything specific that the defense did well in last week's performance, holding Western to 3 points, that you weren't able to replicate today?
I mean, we didn't have you know, all the penalties last week that we had today. That doesn't help. They had, I don't know, they made plays. So, like I said, I got to go watch it. You know, on the field, like for me personally, I didn't feel like they were able to run the ball. They just made stuff happen, I guess. Like, it sounds pretty blunt and you know, not a very sophisticated answer, but that's all I can say. They made some stuff happen. They got penalties, and you know, that helped their drives extend longer than they should have, and they were able to capitalize on the red zone when, you know, a lot of teams might have settled for a field goal. I know there was like a 4th and 4. They ended up going for it and getting it. Stuff like that hurts.
Chase, had you guys seen the backup quarterback Brown very much before, like on film or anything?
Their quarterback?
Yeah.
No, we had no idea. He came in, and I remember guys on the sideline saying they were running a wildcat. And I was like, no, that's their, you know, the freshman, the backup quarterback. And they were like convinced that it was just a wildcat. They weren't going to throw the ball with them. It wasn't the coaches, it was the other players. You know, it was just kind of funny for us, but yeah, ultimately we just got to you know, be better and be more prepared. That somebody coming into the game, it doesn't matter who they put in, we got to be able to shut them down and not let them make any plays, especially somebody that we know is a runner, scramble. It's kind of obvious.
You mentioned practice being tougher. Is that different drills, higher tempo? What's changed this year?
I think there's, you know, not just this year, it's more so just this week.
Okay.
And progressively, I think, I don't know, just, you know, all the coaches have an expectation of where we need to be, and they're not going to let up. I know they referenced some games last year where, you know, they didn't feel like we were as prepared as we needed to be, and they're taking those lessons and applying it even to, you know, someone like SMU. And so, like I said, they're not taking anything for granted, and the penalties will be adjusted or will be fixed, will be corrected. And I think, you know, obviously the stat line and how many points they were able to score will be a lot less.
How many of those were questionable in your mind? I don't know if you answered that already. And how much
it
was discipline?
When you're out there, it's honestly so tough to be able to gauge, you know, like exactly how a penalty is judged. The Kalik one is the only one I could really comment on, and I just don't think it was. You know, I got to see it again, but I just don't know how they call that when he's a runner. He's running the ball. So.
Chase, I'm sure you've been able to see Donovan up close for a long time. Was it good to see him finally break through against competition like he did today?
Yeah, no, that's a great feeling, especially when it's, you know, only when it's on your own team. It's great to be able to be there for another teammate's success. Like, Brian Monet, Harlow Kemp, Donovan Peoples-Jones, little tongue twister there. It's such a great feeling because I've been there too. Like I've been in their shoes where like even when I was on kickoff and like my teammates celebrating me coming up and encouraging me, and those guys have had their struggles, and for them to persevere and just even if it's just for one day just to kind of elevate their status and belief in themselves. It's something special, and we're going to keep pulling for it.
You've seen this offense, a lot, and obviously you guys have been, as the defense, have been holding them and kind of helping them along in games. It's nice to see them, though, kind of explode a couple weeks now, isn't it?
No, it's a great feeling. I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm really appreciative of all the work they do. I know Shay's putting in the work off the field. That guy's always, I live with him. He's always studying. He's always doing what he needs to do to prepare for the game. The results are showing, and the offense is putting up some points now, and they're really starting to find a rhythm.
Do you have to cook for them? Do you live with them?
No, we got one of our other roommates helps us cook. Helps take care of that. So.
Which is when you see, results from both sides, offense, defense. Are you starting to feel like this team's starting to round into that complete team that you hope to be mid to the end of the season?
Yeah, every week is so different, and there's so many moving pieces, and nothing. It's never going to be perfect. We're always going to be like, it's just the way life is, the way football is. You're always going to be able to make mistakes and have to come back from that. But I do feel like we're taking steps in the right direction to start become that complete team. It doesn't feel like when we're out there, it's like, oh, the offense is almost non-existent. Like we're going to have to shut these guys out, or we might lose. And that's a good feeling, and it lets us focus on other stuff and improve our games.